I don't know what you normally do for Christmas or what would be a normal Christmas for you, but it's not looking like a white Christmas at the moment for us. It's looking like a wet Christmas. In fact, worse than that, it's looking pretty much like a weird Christmas. I'm dreaming of a weird Christmas. We've just had news from the Welsh Government that the numbers for the COVID-19 virus are going up and up, and we've got to really clamp down on Christmas and just stay home basically. And they're kind of afraid to say to people, well, you know, all stay home. By law they just said, well, we're going to let you all get together, but please don't. And that's weird as well, isn't it? Shouldn't trivialize this. These are difficult and challenging times, and a lot of people have been very ill. A lot of people have lost people they love. It's just bizarre. And it's not just the weather that's sort of really wet and warm and unusual for this time of year. It's everything that's going on in the world around us. What do you do when something like that happens? When you're looking ahead and you're nightmaring, I suppose you'd say, I don't know, is that a word? You're nightmaring over a weird Christmas. I just can't get used to it. Then what do you do with yourselves? Well, way back in Daniel chapter 9, and Daniel's a very interesting book with lots of tremendous imagery. It's a bit like Tolkien, it's a bit like The Hobbit and all that, Lord of the Rings. But it's all these prophecies, and God's using this poetic stuff to convey truth to people. Back in there, Daniel, he looks at the score with his home land. He's away from it, but he looks at the score with Jerusalem and he says, things are terrible. Things are really shocking bad. How do I deal with this before God? What do I do with this situation? I'm certainly not saying we got COVID because it's the judgment of God. I've got no special knowledge on that at all. I'm just saying Daniel had this approach when things were not as they ought to be, and he knew they weren't. Firstly, he went back to God and he said, this ain't right. I know this ain't right. And he confessed any sin he knew about, just to get it out of the way to start with, so you could have a chat, you know, sort out your problems with somebody and then have a chat. And then he said, right, I'm going back to the book. What does it say in the book? This isn't unusual for a circumstance where people have really kicked over the traces and gone against God. So he says, I'm going to the book. I'm not going to come out with some, you know, big, oh, woe is nigh and all that stuff. No, he goes back to the book and he has a look. And he says, well, this would be normal in a situation like that. And then he says, but Lord, I know what you are like as well. You are a faithful, forgiving, loving, kind God who forgives because of what he's like, not because of anything that's in us. And he acknowledges God's mercy, and then he prays. He prays for his people. He prays for his land. He puts it on the line to God. Lord, have mercy on these people. Our land is suffering. Our land's in a bad old state. Please, will you step in according to your love and mercy, and please, will you get this straight for us? Please, will you put this right? Now, this COVID job's left a lot of us wondering about what on earth's going on, confused, puzzled, and bewildered. Here's a way to get your bearings back, the way old Daniel did way back in time. And he didn't find any easy answers or quick solutions. He wasn't glib. He went back through what he knew to be the situation with God. He went back over confessing anything he knew he might have been in the wrong with God about. He looked back in the Bible to see what the experience he was having was normal for, what sort of circumstances gave rise to this experience normally. And then he got straight with God about it, and he said, Lord, please, in your mercy, not because of us, but because of you and your loving heart, please, will you intervene in this for us? And interestingly enough, God then said, you wait. I've got it. I'm in charge of it. I got hold of this. I know what's happening here. But you're going to have to wait 70 years. This will happen, this will happen, this will happen. You're not on your own. I'm telling you in advance, so you know you're not on your own in this. You know I'm working in it. You know I've got control of it. But this will happen, this will happen, this will happen. You'll have to wait. Trust me. Now you trust me. You've prayed. I've heard your prayer. I've told you what's happening. You trust me. And that is the challenge, it seems to me, when you're dreaming, nightmaring perhaps, of a weird Christmas.